Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of All at Once. Today's episode is a little bit different. It is a joint episode with the Dream World podcast. So I'm going to be doing the intro on my own, and she'll be doing a separate intro. And then after this, the episode will get started with the both of us. But I just wanted to introduce Amina. She is a dream researcher and a lucidity coach known for her deep passion and expertise in the realms of consciousness. So she has been lucid dreaming basically since childhood, and it's led her on this lifelong exploration of the dream space and then understanding how the power of dream work really shifts our life. In 2020, she founded the Dream World podcast and became a member of the International Association for the Study of Dreams. She's also a best-selling author and content creator, and she strives to inspire others to embark on their own inner journeys. And so her and I together had this beautiful conversation about dreaming, our spiritual journeys, how dreams actually help with shadow work and with healing things within our subconscious mind, how it can make us better at things in our everyday life. We talk about channeling and so many cool things. So I'm so excited for you guys to listen to this episode.
How did you get started with your spiritual journey? Like, how has this whole process unfolded for you?
So, my spiritual journey has been a very long and slow one. I know there's a lot of people who have these like just awakening moments where their whole world shifts, and that's not really how mine happened. So, when I was a kid, I always kind of knew I was different, and I was always very drawn to like aliens. Like, my favorite movies, like, I was 12, and my favorite movie was Men in Black. And there was just a part of me that knew kind of like in the back of my mind that it was real. And there was the one scene, I think it's in the second movie, where the girl's in the little spaceship at the very end going back into space. And like seeing that, I was always like, oh, I want to be her. Like, I feel like I need to go home with her, kind of thing. And then as I got older, I kind of just ignored it. I left it, like it wasn't really something I thought about. I always kind of felt different to other people, but I never thought about it as anything more than your typical like teenage kind of experience. I ended up gaining a lot of weight in university. And when I went through the process of losing weight was when I learned about like releasing repressed emotions and how I wasn't actually feeling my emotions at all. I was repressing everything and just kind of eating my way through them. And so that led to doing a lot of inner child work, a lot of shadow work, a lot of manifestation practices, breath work. And then it all just kind of spiraled through that essentially. And then there was one day where I was doing 75 hard. I was on my daily walk and I was listening to a podcast that was called Spiritual Shit by Leah Lovely. And there was an episode about star seeds. And as soon as that term came up and they started explaining it, I like broke down in tears just on the street in London because I felt so resonant. And I finally felt like there was something that explained my entire experience on earth. And then from that, I just like hit the ground running and really tapped into learning a lot more about that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's got me to where I am today.
That's awesome. That seems like a
Yeah.
really inspiring journey. So, what about dreams? Have they played like a particular role in that spiritual growth for you?
So I have been remembering my dreams my entire life, actually. It's something that I didn't really pay attention to, but even as a kid, I had this reoccurring nightmare that looking back now, I still remember it clear as day. And I'm actually convinced it was my star family or like just another planet of beings coming to visit. But it wasn't until 2021 when I was kind of in that spiritual awakening period where I started remembering them every single night without fail, which wasn't too abnormal for me because, like I said, I have always remembered my dreams, but I would wake up every single day feeling like I hadn't slept. So I don't know if I was consistently dreaming. I think there was some astral travel in there. There was a lot more lucid dreaming happening that I was experiencing for the first time. It wasn't really something that I had tapped into before. I eventually started seeing a pattern in the dreams that were coming forward. So I would see a reoccurring theme come up or a reoccurring feeling come up, or maybe it would be the same dreams happening over and over again. And I started being able to connect that to what was happening in my day to day life or kind of the thoughts that were ruminating in my mind. And slowly just intuitively channeled the meanings and was able to use them to my benefit within my life.
I love that. So, how do you usually approach analyzing dreams? Like, do you have a personal process for it, or do you think that there's certain things that other people can apply, like when looking at their own dream journals?
No, they can definitely do it themselves. It's a lot of intuitive channeling for me, but there are certain things that anyone can use. So basically, if you're constantly having a dream in your childhood home, that's a really common one that gets brought up on my TikTok channels. A lot of times, it's one of two things. You're either going back there because it feels like a safe space for you to process whatever your brain is trying to process at that time, or because it was an unsafe place and whatever you're feeling now in your life resembles the feeling you had in that home. And so when you're dreaming, your brain brings you back there because that was the first time you experienced that feeling. And so obviously it
Oh.
differs based on the person and kind of what they're going through. And there's a lot more that goes into it. That's just a very high level analysis. But that's one example of how you can kind of connect your dreams to what's happening in your day to day life.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a very common one. It makes sense for me. I'll always dream of my childhood home, but it'll be like something is a little off or like
Mhm.
placed wrong or it looks backwards or something like that.
Yeah. And
So
I
yeah.
think that's your subconscious mind showing you that it is a dream. Like it's not perfect. It's your mind trying to recreate that home. And so nothing's ever going to be the exact same.
Yeah, that's cool. So what about recurring dreams? How do we understand them and like in what ways do you think that they can be useful?
So again, it depends on what the recurring dream is. And there's so many layers to dreams. So some people can get recurring dreams that are actually premonition dreams or a warning coming through of something that's about to happen. But most times when people have reoccurring dreams, it's because there's something within their mind that they need to work through. So whether that's a thought, a desire, a fear, a trauma that they're trying to process. And because when we sleep, it's an exploration of our subconscious mind, essentially, what dreams are. It's our brain trying to work through that thing. So if you're constantly having a reoccurring dream of you getting into a fight with your partner because they cheated on you, either that's happened to you in the past and your brain is still trying to work through that trauma because you haven't fully moved through it yet and those insecurities are coming up in your current relationship, or it's a fear that you have an abandonment fear or just some sort of distrust towards that person that again you haven't quite worked through yet, so it's coming up in your subconscious to try and be worked through and moved through.
Yeah, makes sense. So do you have any tips for like how can you tell if this is like, oh, my subconscious processing things or if it's like a message or like premonition dream? Like how do I know if it's anxiety or if it's something that I need to watch out for, you know?
Yes. So, one of the things I always say is to pay attention to how you feel in the dreams. If you're channeling a message, so it's a premonition dream or it's a warning or something coming through, you're not going to have an emotion attached to it because when we channel, it's just information coming through. You should feel neutral. So, you should wake up from the dream and be like, oh, that was interesting, and not really have an emotion attached to it. If you do feel strong emotion, that is you working through something that's your anxiety, that's your fears, that's your brain just kind of processing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I always feel like if it's kind of just like a knowing without all this stressful anxiety attached to
Mhm.
it, that's more definitive versus, your brain just going through the motions and things like that.
Exactly. And that's actually a big distinction for your intuition as well. If you have a thought or like an intuitive message drop through, it should feel neutral. If you have any fear surrounding it, then that's not your intuition. That's an intrusive thought coming through. So that's like a very big distinction for anything, really. Okay.
I'm also curious what led you to Bali. How did you end up there? What inspired you to move there?
Oh my gosh. So I'm only here for 3 months. It's not like a full-time move, but this honestly has been the longest process. So I first wanted to come to Bali back in 2021, and I tried so many times to move here, and every single time the universe was like, "Nope, it's not time yet. It's not time yet." I tried to transfer because I was in corporate at the time, so I tried to transfer with corporate even just down to Australia, and long story short, it didn't work out, and then I quit corporate, and at the beginning of 2022 2022, 2023. Oh my god, the years get so confusing. At 2023, I tried to move to Bali and then things came up kind of on the other side of the world, so I couldn't leave. I had a wedding in Colombia and there was a content creators retreat for TikTokers basically that was happening in Costa Rica. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to go to Bali and then come back in like a month. It just doesn't make sense. So I moved to Costa Rica instead and kind of lived there for the year. And then I spent an entire year at home just cocooning, going kind of through like a dark night of the soul grieving process because I had lost someone that was very close to me. And then essentially, as soon as my energy like came back online, that process had finished. one of my best friends who I actually met in Costa Rica was living in Bali. And I just had this intuitive feeling. I was like, okay, now is the time to go to Bali. I'm going to be there in the fall. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but like I just have this feeling. And as we got closer and closer to the fall, like to September coming, I was like, okay, I just need to make a decision. Am I going or not? And as soon as I made the decision, like, yeah, F it, I'm going to go, everything just kind of fell into place and I came.
I love how that happens, how we're just
Yeah.
intuitively guided at the right time, and then everything you need just comes together for it to happen. That's beautiful.
Yeah. I
Cool.
love the way the universe works.
I know you do a lot of like helping people with like shadow work and you make a lot of content around that. What is shadow work? Why is it useful? How can dreams help us uncover that shadowy material?
Okay, this might be a little bit of a longer explanation. So if you have questions throughout it, just interrupt me. But shadow
Okay, go
work is
ahead.
essentially uncovering the aspects of self that we have been taught to shame, repress, that are not okay, that haven't been accepted by others, and moving through the process of learning to accept them within ourselves and showing them love. So as we go through life, starting from a kid, we are conditioned by everything, what's cool, what's not cool, a certain way you're supposed to look, certain hobbies that are cool, or like certain hobbies that are super nerdish. And like we have all of this conditioning that we essentially try to adhere to so that we can fit in and have friends and basically not be picked on our entire lives. And it's not just with our social groups, it's with our parents. So your parents might not want you to do a certain thing. Like if you want to be an artist, they might say, no, you have to be a doctor. And then you learn that being creative and expressing yourself through art is a bad thing. And you start to shame yourself for the moments that you actually feel like you want to creatively express. So it can come from anywhere, society, celebrities, everything. And essentially, what that does is it removes the layers of self that are authentically us and adds all of these projected layers of who we think we're supposed to be. And so we don't actually feel safe to be ourselves moving through life. We don't feel worthy of things like love, money, where you have a fear of rejection, a fear of abandonment, a fear of being judged, a fear of being seen, because our entire life we've been told that we have to meet these certain boxes in order to be accepted. And so, what every single fear comes down to essentially is a feeling of unworthiness. So, like if you have a fear of judgment or a fear of rejection, it's because you don't feel worthy of being yourself and that you'll be rejected for being yourself. Like it just, they all break down basically to unworthiness. Today's episode is sponsored by the Ultimate Shadow Work course. You guys have been asking for this for so long, and it's finally here. It is a 4-week course with a live call at the very end, going through a full internal glow up. We are going to go through love, money, self worth, everything, and rebuild ourselves back up so we can fully create and call in the life of our desires. You guys know where to go to find all of the information. The link will be in the description. We start live November 25th. And so going through shadow work, you're looking at all of those aspects of yourself and actually remembering that, like, hey, I am worthy. I am safe to express this thing. If people don't like it, that's their problem. But like, I'm okay being me and learning to love those aspects of yourself again. A lot of people think healing through shadow work is healing those aspects of yourself so you don't have them anymore. But actually, it's showing them so much love and learning to accept them within yourself and then feeling worthy, feeling safe to actually to just express your true, authentic self and like remember who you are, rediscover all those aspects of yourself that you have hidden away and repressed because you didn't feel they were safe to express. And so connecting that with dreams, because dreams are an expression of our subconscious. If you have a fear or an insecurity or a trauma or something that's constantly coming through in your dreams, that can be a clue to see where you actually need to do some shadow work and shed some self-love onto yourself. So again, if you constantly have dreams of your partner cheating on you, there's an insecurity there that you are not worthy of love or that you will be abandoned. And so working through that fear and knowing that you are so worthy within yourself of being loved, especially if you've had that experience in the past, working through that to know that actually it had nothing to do with you and had everything to do with them will be able to take away those dreams. And then actually you'll be able to energetically call in the most beautiful, healthy relationship because you've worked through on an energetic level all of that fear and unworthiness. Does that make sense?
Yes, perfect explanation. Very well said. And I think it is a lifelong journey. Like there's always something
Mhm.
to uncover. And yeah, I could definitely personally attest to the dreams helping with that. So, do you have anything that you can share of like your favorite dreams, lucid or non lucid, like any fun dream experiences that come to mind?
I've had quite a few actually. So it's weird because at the time it was a nightmare, but that childhood nightmare that like was recurring all the time, it kind of is one of my favorite memories because it was the first dream that I ever remembered. And for me, that's like a really special moment. So that one was cool. It was like in my neighborhood. I was just in a stroller being walked up and down the street, but everyone that was walking by us were these like little alien creatures. And like as a 4 or 5 year old, that's terrifying, obviously. And so looking back at it now, that's why I'm like, oh, it must have just been star family or like beings coming to visit because it happened a lot. Like that was a very consistent dream that I had. So that one's really special for me. And then I would say another dream that was really cool. It was the first time I ever realized I was lucid dreaming. And I don't know if you're aware of the Starseed School that kind of looks like Hogwarts. It's a place that you can astral travel to. So I was having a lucid dream, or maybe I guess maybe I was astral traveling even in that school, kind of looks like Hogwarts. And I remember being in this room that was just off of like where the main banquet center or like where you eat, like that room. So I was just like in the next room over and there was these two people coming in that were going to try and harm me. And I remember seeing them walk towards me and being terrified. And I thought in my head, nope, I'm not going to die today. Someone's going to come in and stop them. And then I'm going to get to go and escape. And literally, as soon as I thought that in my head, someone burst through the doors and like grabbed them. And I just like walked away unscathed. And then, like, that teacher or whoever it was like dealing with those people. So that one was fun because one, I love Harry Potter. And so like being in that kind of environment and feeling like I'm in the Harry Potter world is always fun. But yeah, that was my first lucid dreaming remembrance. So that was really cool for me.
I
What
love
about you?
that.
Do you
That's
have any favorite ones?
Yes, I do. I have so many, like, really quickly comment on that is, like, I
Yeah.
do sometimes have these dreams where I'm, like, in this interdimensional school, and they're, like, teaching people about, like, dreams and how to leave your body and all this stuff, and I think it's really cool that a lot of people kinda have this experience, so I think a lot of us, like, dreamy spiritual creators are kind of doing this work on the other side as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of my favorite dreams, my first dream ever, you made me think of that, which was also kinda similar, like, I was a kid and walking around outside and some like bad guys with like scary tigers were chasing me. It's funny how like
Oh.
that's like the scary thing as a kid. But in terms of favorite, one of my lucid dreams that's like the longest, it felt like hours when I was in the dream. I had like these spirit guides that were like showing me all these things and they were like, humans aren't supposed to be here. So like, lay low, but I'm going to show you all these secrets. And they were just telling me all these like secrets of the universe and how reality is structured and what a soul is and like all these like secrets that they were just like pouring into me and I couldn't even remember all of it. But it was just like this really deep experience. And I also love like the fun stuff of just like
Yeah.
going with the dream flow and not necessarily trying to control it or anything. But sometimes I will like ask my dream characters for advice or try to like figure something out about the future and stuff like that. But I still love just like the classic flying around with
Mm.
no big plan or anything.
That is really cool. The long one that you had where you were being told all the secrets of the universe. I love when they do that. They're like, you're not supposed to be here, but just like stay on the DL.
Yeah,
It's so funny.
exactly.
I actually have a question branching off of that when you mentioned flying around. So I had a dream before where I believe that I was astral traveling and I flew out of my house and basically I just like start on the ground and like bend down with my hands and like press off and shoot into the sky and then I started flying. But I was just going to my friend's house who lived like 3 roads over. But as I was flying, I was like cutting through the park that kind of connects our streets. It was almost like when you look at a geographical map, how there's like levels to it. There's like just the grid, and then you have like just the kind of bumpy area, and then you have like the overlay of detail, and then the overlay of like this is what it actually looks like the actual photo. As I was flying, that's how the world was forming. So like maybe 10 feet ahead of me, it would just be that black grid with like gray lines. And like as I would fly, each layer would like slowly build so that like at least a couple feet in front of me was where all of the picture would develop. And then obviously when I got to his place, it was like completely different. And then when I tried to leave there, I had to jump off of the balcony onto the ground to be able to fly back up and fly home. So I'm just wondering, have you ever experienced that kind of like building of the world before?
Yes, it's so cool, and I always kind of compare it to a video game, how it,
Yeah.
like, renders itself. It has, like, a map that's already set out, but then depending on your choices and where you go in the game, a certain version of it, like, renders out. And
Yes.
I have seen that, and I also have had dreams where I'll kind of, like, see the edge of the dream, like, the dream ends here, and it's almost like a split screen, and then, like, my waking reality and the room is on the other side of it, and then the dream
Wow.
is, like, in its own little bubble. So it's really interesting how our brain like puts together the dream environment. I think it's like a combination of like our thoughts and subconscious mind combined with like some other dimensional forces that we don't necessarily understand, source, the dream maker, whatever you want to call it. We don't really know
Mhm.
what it is, but I think that together that like creates this dream environment. And sometimes we're able to, kind of like how you were saying astral projection versus lucid dreaming. A lot of
Mhm.
people get confused, but I do think that there is a difference. It's kind of like part of all on this spectrum, and when we do leave our bodies, we can see the physical realm and the things around us from the physical world, but it's kind of combined and like overlapping with this dream astral world to give us this in between. Like sometimes the dreamscape will be like everything will look totally normal. Like it won't act like a dream. Like things will
Mhm.
be solid. And then when I'm in a lucid dream, things will be like, more dreamy and like I can stick my hand through the wall and things like that. So I definitely noticed that there's like levels to it.
How do you tell the difference between lucid dreaming and astral travel? What are some key markers that you can look for?
It's really hard to tell, and it depends who you ask. The way I like to see it is in a lucid dream, you're asleep, you're in REM sleep. That's like the definition of it, right? The thing with astral travel is you don't necessarily have to be asleep. Like people access this state through meditation or hypnosis or breath work, psychedelics. Like there's a lot of tools to access this state. It gets tricky because some lucid dreams like start off where you're like in your room, kind of how you described, and you're seeing this very similar looking physical environment. And that's where it can kind of get hard to tell. I think they're both types of out of body experiences. Like we leave our physical body to an extent. So maybe the way I see it is like the dreams kind of like our inner bubble. And once we leave that inner bubble and we start to overlap with other people's dream bubbles and physical reality, then it's getting more into the astral travel. In terms of like markers, I don't really know. It's really hard to tell. And I would just say, like, the best thing you can do is just have your own scale and try to, like, label it for yourself, but also not to, like, overthink the labels or try to fit it rigidly into one category or another. What you can do is, like, record your experiences, write them down, and then you'll start to feel for yourself, like, okay, this one felt different than this one. This one's definitely a lucid dream. This is what I would classify as an astral projection. So just build your own criteria for it. I don't think there has to be, like, solid, separation between them.
It's interesting because the experiences I've had that I'm assuming are astral travel have always been me flying, or I know that I'm in a different realm, like the when I was at the school, like I know that's in the astral. I know that that's not a regular dream. But I did have one experience where I actually felt out of body, and it's the only kind of out of body thing I've experienced not on psychedelics, but it was exactly as you said, like, I wasn't sleeping, I was in meditation, and I was laying down, I wasn't seated, but I felt my energetic body rise out of my system, and I was kind of hovering like 5 feet above, and I was looking around my room, and I was just kind of floating there, and then all of a sudden, there was a massive gust of wind or, like, of energy coming through, and my door slammed, and I shot right back down into my body, but in real life, my door was still open, so, like, the energy in the door shutting was in the astral plane, not in my physical plane. And I remember, like, I opened my eyes and I was like, "Oh my god, that was so trippy. What the heck was that?" It was wild.
That's so cool. Yeah, it gets so, like, complicated once you start to enter these altered states of consciousness.
Mm,
Like, dreamy things start to happen either way, so it's really confusing, and, of course, like, when it comes to science, like, we know what a lucid dream is, we have biological markers for it, but then astral projection is still, like, this big question mark, you know? Us spiritual people, like, we understand it and we know it's a real thing, but a lot of people, like, still don't really get it. Like, some people think, "Oh, it's just the same thing as a lucid dream."
mhm.
And no hate to those people, but I definitely think they're different as well. Yeah, for me, it's like I can just feel it. Like I'm going somewhere and I can just feel like I'm in this deeper state of a dream. But I do think that sometimes when we're dreaming, like there is an overlap. Like some dreams we really go deeper and we travel
Mhm.
further into the universe, but we're asleep. A rectangle is a square, but a square is not a rectangle, I guess. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I think they're both types of out of body experiences, but not all dreams are astral projections, and not all
Mhm.
astral projections happen while we're asleep. Like maybe they're like cousins, and we don't really know what the exact markers or like criteria is for them yet, and maybe it's different from individual to individual. But yeah, I just think it's so cool how like we're able to access this information. I think it's a power that everybody has, and maybe some
Mhm.
people are better at dreaming and some people are better at meditation and inducing OBEs in different ways. So that's kind of why I've noticed everybody has their own little thing and their own tools that resonates with them, and I think that's okay. It's really about finding what works for you.
So what do you think are, like, the benefits of being able to lucid dream?
It
Like, why
has
would
so
people
many
want to do it?
benefits. So, for one, the shadow work stuff that we were talking
Mhm.
about, it's a really good opportunity to work directly with your subconscious mind. Like, while your logical brain is asleep, you don't have all that like mind chatter. You
Mhm.
can really get down to the root of things. It's great for practicing skills. Like, this has been scientifically proven. Like, you can work on sports or
Yes.
whatever skill, like, even studying and languages. Like, it's a really good time to like rewire those like neural connections. It's good for PTSD and nightmares, like, it's proven treatment for nightmares, especially in children. They're very natural lucid dreamers, so that's something I'm very passionate about. And then there's always just, like, the creative expression, like, there's a lot of artists that use lucid dreaming to, like, create masterpieces and get inspiration for things, and a lot of, like, inventions have come from dreams, not just lucid
Mhm.
dreams, but dreaming space in general. So I think it has, like, this life energy to it that inspires us and heals us, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And then, of course, the fun stuff. Like it's also just like a creative space to release things and create things and plan things out. Or just just express yourself in that way. So I think whatever it is that you need, there's something within dream work for you, whether you're having fun or working on something serious, practicing public speaking. There's so many things you can do. Like it's literally infinite.
I've actually heard that before, that, there was a study for something in terms of, like, the gym. So I can't remember what specific exercise they were doing, but there was a group that was just training in the gym, and then there was a group that was doing it with their subconscious, like, through visualization and lucid dreaming, and not going in the gym. And the ones who were visualizing it within their subconscious actually ended up gaining more strength and muscle mass even though they weren't actually doing anything in the gym, and I was like, "That is
Yeah.
amazing." That's like
Yeah. And
the
like
the lazy person's hack to working out.
Yeah, it really is a life hack. And like when you're lucid dreaming, it's like visualization times 1,000 because you can
Yeah.
feel everything, you can feel the movements. You're like literally practicing it consciously. And if it's like they did this study also with like skiers or gymnasts, they would like practice crazy stunts
Mm,
and you can't break your arm in a dream. So it's like you don't have those constraints of like hurting yourself. So you can practice the movements and not worry about like, cracking your head open or whatever. So yeah, it's like visualization on steroids.
yeah. So, for people who've never lucid dreamed before or can't do it consciously, what are some steps to get started?
Definitely like start writing your dreams down and just overall build this relationship with like all your dreams and not entertain these like negative beliefs of like, oh, I can't do it or it's hard. Even if you've never had a lucid dream before, like your mindset really plays a big role, kind of like with anything. You got to be
Mhm.
confident, you got to believe that you can do it because it is a learnable skill. Anybody can do it, honestly. And it's like going to the gym, it's not going to happen in a day, it takes consistency. But the one best tip I can give people is like, start to focus during your waking life, just your regular reality. I hate calling it reality because they're both reality, but you know what I mean, waking
Mhm.
reality. Start to be more mindful, like start to ask yourself, am I dreaming right now? And really ask yourself that, like with the intention of assuming that it's a dream almost, and test your environments in ways to see if you're dreaming or not. And what that does is it builds this habit of like critical thinking, and then
Mhm.
eventually in a dream, you'll probably be like, oh, like, am I dreaming right now? leading you to become lucid. And that's one way of becoming lucid. Like there's a lot of different techniques you can do. But one of the most common things for me is realizing while I'm in the dream, like, oh, this is not normal. You're not supposed to be here, or I'm not in this country, or whatever weird, dreamy scenario is going on. You have to train your brain to think about, like, okay, is this normal? And it's basically a mindfulness practice. So you can build your own meditation practice. And that's also really good for lucid dreaming. Like people who meditate frequently are more likely to have lucid dreams. And also just learn about it, read about it, like get into the community, do some, like watch some videos, like learn as much as you can, because absorbing that information, like you're more likely to lucid dream just by listening to things and reading things about lucid dreaming and putting that in your brain and basically planting the seed in your brain, like I will lucid dream, I know I can do it. And if it doesn't happen in a day, like be patient. It can take some time, but definitely record your dreams and start to notice patterns. Like, what do you dream about often? Like, let's say if you dream about school a lot or your cat, every time you see those things or think about them, you can do a reality check. And that'll make it more likely for you to actually do the reality check in your dream. So,
When you were talking about doing the research, I was gonna connect it to, when you're channeling, you can't receive messages that you don't already have kind of a knowledge about. Like, they can't just channel to you in a different language if you don't know how to speak it, unless it's, like, light language. But so it's the same, I guess, with, like, the lucid dreaming. Like, you need to actually have that awareness and that knowledge within your mind so that your brain can utilize it and actually start putting it into practice. Because unless you're just randomly having a spur of the moment astral travel experience, if you're consciously trying to do something that you don't know how to do or what it is, your brain's not going to be able to do it.
well, we can get into the channeling. And this is an important topic because it's like
Mhm.
there's a lot of creators out there that are channeling different entities and beings. And there's a lot of talks about, like, how do you know this channel is real? And how do you know it's like a trustable source? And then, even just more basic than that, like, what even is channeling?
So with channeling, channeling is actually something that everyone does all the time. We just don't realize that we're doing it. So when you're in any type of flow state and you're so present in the moment, you're not really thinking about what's happening, you're just flowing, that is a form of channeling. So as a channel, all it is just a flow of energy coming through your body, whether or not that energy is coming from within yourself or it's coming from an external energy source, it doesn't matter. It's still channeling. So when artists or musicians or whoever are just in the zone in their studio and they're just pumping out these tracks or they're just creating this art piece for like 6 hours and they're just consistently flowing, that is them channeling whatever the energy is into their art piece. And they might not even know where the energy is coming from. It could be coming from one of their spirit guides or an ancestor, whoever, channeling that art piece through them. But that in itself is a form of channeling. So we all channel all the time, whether or not we realize it. But when it comes to what you were talking about with channeling different beings and different entities, there's one thing that's very important to note when it comes to channeling. And it's that every single channel, it doesn't matter who they are, will have their own filter. So we basically form a filter based on our life experiences, the things that we've been through, etc. Especially when it comes to speaking our language, if we're speaking something out, even if you're, say, Bashar, like Daryl Anka channeling the being of Bashar, Bashar is limited to whatever language Daryl has in his system. So there's a lot going on because when we're not in the 3D realm, a lot of the communication is energetic. So they have to do the best they can to then translate that message into English. And a lot of times it's going to be like not an exact translation because we don't have all the words to fully relay the
Yeah.
information. So there's always going to be some sort of filter. And it's also the same with if you're going to a psychic or if you're going to a medium or a channel or anything like that, you want to make sure that you're going to someone who is giving you a neutral message and allowing you to interpret what it means for you. So instead of them saying, this is what I see and this is exactly what it means, they should be saying, like, oh, this is the image that's coming through. These are the symbols that are coming through. What do they represent for you? Because they're going to have their own filter. So for them, if they see a symbol of a rose coming through, a rose could mean like love or heartbreak or something for them. But for you, a rose coming through could be a symbol of someone who you got like a matching rose tattoo with. And it's a message about their energy coming through. Or maybe it was like your grandma's favorite flower, so it's like your grandma's energy coming through. So all of the filters that we have are going to be different. So when you're looking for a channel, it's good to make sure that whoever it is neutral and is letting you interpret the signs and the symbols coming forward and not attaching their own meaning to the signs and the symbols. Of course, they can also say, when I see this, this is what it normally means if they have it in like a mass thing. But again, they shouldn't be saying it as a fact. They should still be letting you interpret on your own. When it comes to channeling different beings and different entities, you just have to use your discernment. You have to ask within yourself, does this ring true for me? Does this resonate? Because everything's coming through on different energetic frequencies. And sometimes when you hear a channel coming through, it might not resonate with you. And that doesn't mean that the message is necessarily wrong or untrue. It might just mean that the way that that channel is relaying it or kind of translating the message doesn't resonate with you at that moment, or that message is just not meant for you right now. There are, of course, a lot of channels who think that they're channeling a being of light when actually it could be a being of darkness. But again, you just have to use your discernment and kind of feel the energy and see what feels in alignment and what doesn't.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I feel like a lot of people forget to trust their intuition and look
Mhm,
within, because it can be easy to be like, oh my God, they're like a big interdimensional being. So, like, it must be like a form of authority when that may not be the case.
mhm,
And I love what you said about, interpreting just the message, because the same kind of applies to like dream interpreters and people that are helping understand dreams. Like, there are universal things that can be applied when it comes to dream symbols. Like, we were saying earlier, this could usually mean this and this, but it's also very personal. Like, dream symbols can have personal meanings based on your experience and your associations with that dream symbol. So it's important to think about how it, relates to you, as well as look at the collective picture. Like, they're both going to help you get to the answer.
exactly. And so actually when I do the dream decoding sessions for my clients, I always give them I'm intuitively channeling the messages that are coming through and the energy that I'm feeling, but the form that they fill out has to be the most detailed thing. I ask them what they're feeling, what their emotions are, what their relationships are to the people in the dreams. If it's nighttime, if it's daytime, like I'm getting so much information about them as well, so that I know when I'm channeling the information coming through, I can connect it back to their experiences. And then, of course, I also give the generic, like, oh, you had a black cat show up. This is generally what this, like the spiritual symbolism behind a black cat means. And so it's kind of like a mix of both. But I always make sure that they give me so much information so that I know I can connect it to their experience versus my own channel and filtering what is coming through my eyes.
Yeah, that's great because you do have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. So I think that's valuable. But it also puts the final decision on the
Mhm.
dreamer, to say, you get to decide if this rings true for you or not. So I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm always like, "This tells me this. I don't know what it says to you, but, like, this is what it tells me," and then I give it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely something that the more you use your intuition, the more you use your discernment, the stronger it'll get. The biggest thing I can say is if for even a second you feel like something's off, don't think yourself out of it. Our brain is very powerful. We can think ourselves into or out of literally any situation, okay? So if you get any sort of ick or uneasiness or just something is off with any sort of channel, trust that. Don't think that because they have a big following or a big platform that, there's just something wrong with you and that actually they're fine and like you just need to work through it or like talk yourself into believing them. Just trust it. Like there's one, I'm not going to name names, but there's one who I know does a lot of work with the GFL. And when she started, she was a very clean, pure energy, a clean channel, but now it's so distorted that I can't even watch her transmissions. Like I can't even look at her page, nothing. Like the energy is just too icky for me. And a lot of people still don't see it. So it's like you just have to trust, you guys, trust that if you have that feeling, it's there for a reason.
Yes, I agree. And I think it definitely gets sticky when it comes to, like, people with big followings and stuff, because people
Mhm.
just tend to gravitate and listen to everything they say. And I just want to remind people to really think for themselves and really think about how it feels inside, if it resonates. And if it does, that's okay. But it might not apply to everybody.
Yeah. Like there's some things Bashar says where I'm like, yeah, love it. Love it. Like 98% of the things, but then the other 2% I'm like, that doesn't ring true for me, and I just leave it, you know? Like, I don't
Yeah,
trust everything he
exactly.
says just because it's Bashar.
Yeah,
So
exactly, same.
nothing is ever just so black and white. So I actually did have one question.
Okay.
I just wanted to know where your favorite place that you've ever visited in the dreamscape has been, whether that's been like another planet through astral travel or like a dream world that you've created. But I was just curious.
Yes. Okay. So I have a few. So I do have like a consistent dream world that I've created that I often go back to.
Love
And it's
that.
kind of like my dream, like land. And like it's like this farm with like all this like organic vegetable garden and like a grocery store and like all this like area for like dream retreats and festivals. It's just like this really big, beautiful like farm. So I love
Oh,
going back there. And it's always the same. Like I always add to it and do stuff every time I go. So that's kind of representative of like my, goals and dreams. And then also ancient Egypt or just Egypt in general is like a big favorite dreamscape of mine. I
yeah.
have like some personal subconscious connections with it. And I just love exploring there. I feel like I've been there, like to the pyramids, and I always have interesting dreams surrounding that. So I like to go do things like that, like go places that I've never been in real life. And then I've also gone to like space and the moon, which is still fun as well. Those are up there.
Ah, that's so fun. I love that. Going to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so where people can find me. So I am on TikTok and on Instagram at iam.alexischristine. My TikTok is a little bit more dream focused, I would say. And then my Instagram is a lot more shadow work focused, even though they both tie in together. And then I also have a podcast called the All at Once podcast. So if you're listening to this on Amina's podcast, you can go there and see some of my stuff. And then, yeah, I have a Starseed School course out. I'm going to be releasing a shadow work course soon. So there's lots of ways that you can just kind of tap in.
Awesome. Yay. And for your listeners, you
Yes.
can find me on the dreamworldpodcast.com. All of my links are there. It's the Dreamworld Podcast on most platforms. My TikTok is Amina's Dream World, but they should both pop up if you look for me. And yeah, I'll put in all the links so people can find you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I'm happy we finally got to do this.
Yes, I know, me too. It's just been like life got in the way, but I love talking to other people that are like dreamers and make content around this kind of stuff. I think it's just an important message and it's good to join forces.
100% for sure.